Hello, my beautiful people. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Depends where you are in the world. It's evening here, very quiet, pin drop silence. And I just thought in this quiet moment, maybe I can have a word with you because there were few things I really felt so strongly about, and it's always good to share. And they can also help some people, hopefully. Now, it's not against anybody. It's not denying the importance of the medical help. And it's definitely not questioning the doctor's ability or their expertise. Having said that, when you go to a doctor, if you have to go to a doctor, sometime in your life, everybody has to go to a doctor sometime. Now, the thing is, we are actually, unfortunately, have entangled ourselves in a system where, first of all, we don't protect our ears, our mind, and our thinking before going to a doctor. Because unfortunately, it is unfortunate, you can't obviously tell your doctor in what words he should put the news for you. And from what I've seen, this is my personal observation and experience with doctors. Unfortunately, most of the times they can be quite careless. And although they're giving you the information, they're giving you the news about or telling you about what your reports say and what could be wrong with you, or what they found, or what they're suspecting. So to that extent it's fine, because obviously, this is what the doctors do. But when it comes to in what words they're putting it in. Now, I'm not against conventional medicine at all. I'm not against the modern medicine at all, because it's a great help. Because obviously in emergencies, it helps tremendously. And not only that, but when it comes to diagnosis, they're privileged to have all those facilities that they can obviously, find out what is wrong with a person's body. But some doctors, when you go to them, and as I said, majority, the bigger the doctor, bigger means in the rank, especially if you're talking to a big surgeon, if you're talking to a specialist, if you're talking to somebody who has got somewhere in their field. So unfortunately, I will not call it delusion, but definitely sometimes it just comes as so much of overconfidence. Not that overconfidence is good or bad for them, that is not your problem. How that affects you, that is your problem, and that can become a big problem. So when your doctor starts telling you your future, that's the time to stop processing it here. Don't process it in your mind, because if you do that, if you came back with all that, whatever has been thrown on you in very careless words, unfortunately, then your system is going to follow that through. It's not contemplate, it's not contemplation, it's just keep literally just going in circles with the same information. So let's say if the doctor says, oh, somebody's got cancer. So the person heard the news, that's bad enough for them to know that. But then the doctor says sometimes doctors even say you've got so much time to live. Sometimes they say, oh yeah, we can do something about it, but this can be the consequences. At that time, you have to use your power and common sense as a person. Because if you don't do that, if you completely leave yourself on doctor's mercy, if once you're under the anesthesia and you're on an operation table, then obviously you've got no choice but to be on their mercy. But when you are in your senses, then use your senses, please. It's something that I will definitely want to say to everybody, because Unfortunately, the doctors I've seen are becoming more and more careless in their wording. I mean, it's very unfortunate, um, and no disrespect to anybody, but when children are growing up, it's been quite a long time since we have become aware of this positive wording and negative wording, and positive sound and negative sound and all that stuff, how everything is affecting our brain, our system, or how our mind is perceiving the things. We're actually trying to be more careful. We should. So we teach our children to be, and why we tell our children not to use the rude words. Why? Because they don't affect the other person rightly, and they don't affect your child as a person when he uses that in a good way. So everything has its own effect. Unfortunately, you can't teach that to the doctor. I wish the doctors could be taught that as well, because that would have helped them and their patients as well. But no matter how good place this information is coming from, I'm not doubting the doctor's intentions. I'm not doubting their professionalism, their expertise, or their sincerity. But definitely they can be very, very careless. In their words or in their mind, they think they're being upfront with you. I would call it face saving, because they just want to give you everything that is sometimes so unimportant, that is so unnecessary, that's very, you don't need to be that well informed, that they're telling you. That's face saving for them, because they don't want to be held responsible. But as a result of that, they're actually literally bombarding you with the information that in that fragile moment you don't need, and you can't process it in a healthy way, and you can't understand it. As a result of that, with that verbal diarrhea, you come home and you fall. You feel more sick. You feel weaker, because you were already in a vulnerable situation. Why people go to doctor? People go to a doctor when they're not well, physically or mentally. Doctors don't take care of your emotion side. They don't take care of your how you're going to process it. That is for you to do. So you just be very, very careful, because today I was in the hospital for just a normal check, and I saw a lady in tears, and she was so scared because her doctor told her whatever, and it was more than what she needed to know at that time. She's already in a vulnerable situation. She's already feeling quite sensitive about what's happening with her, and then suddenly the doctor comes up with, this can happen, that can happen, that can happen, that can happen, that can happen. And in the end, he concludes, but don't worry, we'll fight it. We'll fight it. Now, first of all, doctor is not God. If you don't believe in God, but still, doctors are so unaware of the future as you are. So that makes you two equal, right? Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. None of us knows that, no matter how informed we are, no matter how highly educated we are. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. That is our limitation. Simple as that. You can't read the future. Even the people who claim to read the future, they cannot be so certain about it, right? So doctors definitely don't train to read the future, but they actually imply, just do it, without being trained about it. They don't have even the knowledge of that science, but they still jump in that situation and say, oh, this can happen, that can happen, that can happen. And with the very careless words. The wording is something that I am always worried about. Hearing from a doctor, coming to the patient, it can really, really, affect so badly. So, and it has been actually tested that I was, some time ago, I was reading something. Actually, I was listening to a doctor's interview, and he said, in his early days, he was reading a report when he was, a very new doctor. He was reading a report to a patient. Sorry, the aeroplane's going. So he was reading the report to the patient, and he said, oh, I'm sorry, you've got cancer. And because the patient was admitted in the hospital, and he was all on those monitors and everything, so he saw like his blood pressure shot up. His blood pressure was so high, and he literally started trembling, and he was just not in a good state. And then After a few minutes, the doctor realized it was the wrong report. It was not that person, it was somebody else's report that he was reading, because he was a new doctor, a trainee doctor at that time. So he actually said, "Oh, no, no, that's not yours. Sorry, you're okay. That is somebody else's report. By mistake, I read it to you." Everything started coming back to normal. This is how it affects. So first of all, it's a doctor's job to tell you the news, tell you the reality, what is happening. That, to that extent, is perfectly fine. They have to obviously give you the information. But having said that, how they put it, in what words they're putting it in. I mean, I heard a doctor saying to me, my hemoglobin was slightly low at that time, and I was not feeling well. And this young doctor, a very kind, nice lady, she was she was actually a registrar, and she held my hand and said, "Well, you will need. She didn't say you might. She didn't say there's a chance. It can happen or it could happen. No, she said you will need a blood transfusion." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Well, because your hemoglobin is so low, and your iron level is so low." So I said, "Well, it will pick up." She said, "Well, don't listen to me. Then you will come. I'm telling you, you'll come back as a white paper here, and then you will have to go for a blood transfusion." Now, I'm not telling how strong I am, because we're all humans. Obviously, nobody can be all the time strong. But to be honest with you, I stopped that in my mind, this information, immediately. I rejected it, immediately. No matter how good doctor she was, no matter what good intentions she had for me, but her wording was so cruel at that time that if I would have taken it as it was, to be honest with you, that would have materialized in itself. So I rejected that in my mind. I said to her, "No, I'll be fine." And yes, thanks to God, I was fine. After maybe a week or two, I picked up my hemoglobin was back to normal, and my iron level also came stabilized and came back to normal. What I'm saying to you is, I'm not saying don't listen to your doctor. I'm not saying don't go to the doctor, because obviously going to a doctor is important. Listening to your doctor is again important. But listen to your doctor and how much information is coming to you that you need, and how much you want to block out. That is for you to decide. Because I was in the hospital today just for a normal routine checkup, and I saw a lady in tears, literally trembling, fairly, aged woman, and she had her friend with her and holding her hand and all that, and reassuring her that no, everything will be fine. But the news the doctor gave her, that scared her. No, doctors are not there to scare you. First of all, always remember, register this in your mind, your doctors are doctors. They deal with your physique, with your physical body. They deal with your mental body, not in the sense like your perception or thinking. The mental means like if something goes wrong with your brain. So that's again physical. So they're all physical. It's nothing that they can do what you can do. Now I will rephrase it again. So they can tell you what's happening with your physical body. They can tell you what's happening with your brain if you're there for some brain problems. But they can't tell you what's going to happen tomorrow or what's going to happen, after 3 months. Some doctors are just so overconfident. They even say, "Oh, somebody's got 3 months to live." I call it face saving. I call it very selfish face saving, because your doctor is literally just bombarding you with the information that is not even needed at that time. Is scaring you, and he is reading your future, literally. He's taking the liberty on something that is not even in his control. What will happen tomorrow, nobody knows that. So tell yourself that you just need to know your report. You just need to know what medicine your doctor wants you to take. You just need to know what procedure your doctor is suggesting. And then you come home with a cool, collected mind and just sit down with your relatives, with yourself, and just decide without having the fear. any decision that is fear driven, I always said that destroys people. That what is destroying us, what is actually pushing us in a corner is the fear. Because you see that, and I don't want to make this already 15 minutes video, but I don't want to keep going on about it, because when people go for anti-aging creams, oh, because they start counting wrinkles on their faces. If they go for hair dyes, one after another, different type of brands, it's just like, I don't want to look old because I look ugly. These are social conditioning. You have been programmed that way. You would have to reprogram yourself for your own survival. Because if you don't do that and leave yourself on the medical people's mercy and take everything as it comes to you, you're done. So anyway, so this was something that I have been noticing for quite some time, and I thought maybe I should share it with you. If any of you have the same experience, or if you have also felt the same way, then please share it with me in the comment section, and like and subscribe to the video, and look after yourself. And remember, you are life, and life is so, so, so beautiful.